You could say it's for episode 1 of season 3 or something if you want to cheat.
There you go. It'll sound really cool. I have three
Yeah.
seasons.
If you're not having fun, what's the point, right? That's what I say. This is the movie where it's weird when you hear the movie after the story because it makes no sense. Um, the movie where during the middle of it, for whatever reason, I look over at her and realize I am in love with you.
Just know if you want me, let's go.
All right, friends, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation, this episode of The Five. I don't know what number it is because there was a bunch of them, and then I cheated and did a bunch of Criterion versions. So it's a bunch. It's a lot. So this is an episode of The Five, friends, on the Plat X2 channel where we talk movies, music, and books. And this time my guest is Derek, Convicted Cinephile. Welcome, Derek. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for asking me. You could say it's for episode 1 of season 3 or something if you want to cheat.
There you go. It'll sound really cool. I have three
Yeah.
seasons. So yeah, check out the other apparently 2 seasons that are on available
They're
on
good.
YouTube. So
They're good stuff.
so it'll be fun. Yeah, man. So thanks so much. And we're going to go through these 5 questions. Friends, if you're new to this series, it's 5 questions, 5 answers, 5 films per question. This is to talk movies selfishly, just get to talk movies with friends. It's to learn about different movie collectors, and it also just 25 film recommendations. So hope you enjoy it. So I do want to say, Mandy, congrats on you passed 600 subscribers this week. So
Yes. It's taken a while. I'm at the year and a half point, and I'm finally squeaking past 600. But I have a very odd, inconsistent channel where I just try to do very random things. It changes a lot. Pretty much the only consistent thing is Oscar season, so that's usually when I flourish, if you want to put a word to it.
Right.
Where it's consistent. Otherwise, I just try to do something that interests me as opposed to everybody else.
Right.
Because if you're not having fun, what's the point, right? That's what I say.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'll go through seasons where I'm consistent and then I don't do anything for months and then I do some things. And for me, it's worked out better than having the pressure of I always have to have something. So,
Yeah,
but I have a ton of respect
absolutely.
for people who are able to pump out that kind of content. It's awesome.
I go in spurts where I'll do a video a day for a couple of months, and then I've done 2 videos in the last month, and it was barely anything. It was essentially oh, I got a free movie, so I promoted it, and then I did a really quick unboxing because of something I bought that Tim Talks Talkies was kind enough to give me a gift card for his 90s stream or whatever. So I'm I'll make a video for that just to thank him, basically, publicly.
Yes.
Thank him. So
I just had a conversation with Tim. We were talking about old movies. So
he told me that, yeah. I was like,
yes.
oh, I can't watch your stream tonight. I have an appointment with John. He's like, no way. What time is yours at? I was like, oh, 8:30.
That's funny. No, I saw you did that unboxing. You got the All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah, I was lucky and I got that in a giveaway, and that movie's amazing. And there's a nice big fat digibook thing. And then I got he gave an Orbit DVD gift card away, and I used it towards the 4K limited edition Dog Soldiers from Second Sight Films, and that's only my 3rd one. And they all start with D, oddly enough. So apparently, I'm only going to buy Second Sight Films that start with the letter D because that's all I have so far. But yeah, they make amazing sets.
That's cool. I've never purchased a set, but that's really cool, man.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, they make good stuff. I just haven't bought enough from them because they're a little spendy. So
yeah,
it's got to be something special for you to want to splurge on it.
Cool. Well, yeah, man. Congrats to 600. I hear you on it. It takes me a while, and I go in spurts. I've been in the exact same place for 6 months, and I've gotten I think 3 YouTube updates of 0 new subscribers, which I know some people will be discouraged by. It genuinely makes me laugh. I laugh very hard when I get those emails. Yeah, but I do have one question for you. I try to ask a question. So you just passed 600. I've been doing this for a few years. You've been on here a year and a half. For people who are maybe just starting, what would you recommend they do? For you've grown. 600 is nothing. Nothing to It's a great number. A lot of channels stay at 20 and 30 forever. So 600 is really fantastic. And you get 600. Yeah, and you get 600 faster than I got 600 for sure. So what would you recommend? If for someone who is starting, what would you recommend to them if they're hoping to start a channel and they want it to grow? What would you recommend?
Well, not that I'm the best person to ask the question. I mean, just be yourself. Obviously, that's like the cliche answer, but it's true. Don't make videos just to make videos. I mean, a lot of people will just do like trailer reactions or review new movies because it's the new movie and it'll get clicks. My brain doesn't think that way. I
Yeah.
just like I don't want to review a new movie just because it's new, just so people watch the video. I've done it once or twice, but it's usually something I want to make a video on for a reason other than that. But yeah, I mean, the best advice I can give is the very. It sounds terrible when I say it, but it's the more effort you put into a video, the less people are going to watch it. So you better enjoy what you're doing. Because
Yeah.
I've spent hours on a 5 minute video and like 60 people will watch it, but I think it's hilarious.
Uh-huh.
So then that's all that matters to me. So
Well, I appreciate what you said earlier when I didn't before I even asked this question is you better enjoy it. You know, you have fun doing it, whatever it is you're going to do.
right,
And if you're inconsistent, like if you want to put out a video a day, that's fantastic, do it. But if you also are like, I just want to have fun and I'm going to put one out every 3 months or do one every day
right.
for a week. And then that's what I found. I think I put at the beginning, put too much pressure on myself. Like I have to do this. I have to do this. And then when I just realized, actually, I don't have to do anything. I can do whatever I want when I want
Right.
it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like it makes me not like go out and buy stuff I don't necessarily want to get day one just to make
Yes.
a pickup video of it or something. I'm like, oh yeah. So I haven't done as many of those, but the ones I do are actually like worthwhile for me. I
Yeah.
like to do something that's like it's not necessarily the original per se, because someone on the internet probably did it already, but something I personally haven't seen yet. Like, oh, I can do that because I haven't seen anyone do this yet. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my goal soon when I finally start getting back in the swing of things because I've been a little lazy lately because Oscar season pooped me out because I was
Right.
doing so much for that. But it worked out, it was fun for the time being.
Cool.
So,
I know for me, like I unapologetically love films from the 30s and 40s,
right.
and that is not super popular on YouTube. And so I felt the pressure for a while, like, oh, I got to do stuff on, you know, more newer films, which I buy newer films, but just not as often, I guess.
Right.
But I just got over it. It was like, no, I love this stuff. And if I meet 3 other people who love this stuff too, it's all good. So
Right, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
I like everything, so it's hard to like focus on one particular thing for
yeah,
too long of a period of time. Like I'll do little theme months and stuff once in a while, but once you're done with that, it's like, all right, I can move on to something else. I don't have to do
yeah,
the same thing over and over again. I don't need to do the same 5 videos a week.
cool. Yeah, no, I hear you.
You know?
Well, man, congratulations again. Awesome. Excited for you. It was fun to see
Thank you.
you. Yeah, you posted something about not quite there. Somebody reposted it. And then I think it was like 5 minutes later, I looked and you were like 602.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Apparently, I should just do that every day. It's be like, yeah, give me to 700, and then maybe I'll get 97 new
maybe,
subs
yeah,
a day.
absolutely. That's
It
how I
won't
need to
hurt,
get
but it
past.
can't hurt.
I've been in the 840s for 6 months. Maybe that's what I need to do. Hey, friends, 860 would be great. Let's do it.
Right, yeah. I mean,
So,
hey, you'll get a couple out of it usually. At least, worst case scenario.
yeah.
But then the next day I'll be down like 3 more. So because I plan on doing like a 600 subscriber live stream of some sort. I
Yes.
haven't picked a day yet or whatever. But I was like, I'll give it a couple of weeks because I'll probably drop back down to 5.99 after tomorrow because that's usually what happens when you go up a few.
Absolutely. I was talking with Stephanie at Movie Chatter, and
Mhm.
she and I laugh about it sometimes because I will go like 2 months, I don't put out any videos, and my subscriber number will grow a little bit. I put
Yeah,
out a video, it instantly drops like 5 subscribers. And it's
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
think they
Same
like me
thing.
when I don't do anything. They hate me when I do something. So,
Yeah, pretty much same thing for
yeah.
me. Like I didn't do anything for a month and I gained a handful. I was like, why? But thanks though. I guess
Yeah.
whatever works.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
cool,
picky.
man. Well, let's dive into these 5. I'm looking forward to seeing what films you bring up. I've got my pad and paper, so
Probably
write down
nothing
some
too
stuff.
crazy. They're pretty basic picks for the most part.
Hey, man, it's all good. It's all good.
But they're
All right.
different.
So, first question: what 5 films have you most recently seen?
All right. Got my card here, so I remember which pile is which. I'm prepping for my live stream I'm doing next Thursday. I don't know how soon this will be out, so it might be in the past. But I'm doing a tournament live stream. I've been doing Oscar season ones where I was doing all the best picture winners. I did one. I did one for the Screen Actors Guild ensemble winners. That was the first one I did, like as a practice one, basically. And then I went decade by decade. So next Oscar season, I'll probably do like the 70s and 2000s and such, or 2010s. I did the 2000s. But this month, next Thursday, the 20th, so in hindsight. Uh, I'm doing comedy films, so I've been trying to watch those. I made a list of the 32 best comedy movies ever, which is comprised of many a lists online, and then a handful of personal picks from the panel and myself, and then a couple I got from Instagram polls I did. So I've been trying to watch a bunch of those. I've seen them all at least once, which is surprising. But I'm trying to rewatch a lot of them. And then they span from a 1925 Charlie Chaplin movie, so you'll appreciate that, I figure.
Yes, I will.
All the way up through the mid 2000s, because they haven't made comedy movies since then. So just in this pile in no particular order, I have Porky's, which is my brother Bob's one of his favorites. So I threw that in the list for him as a favor. There's Something About Mary,
Classic.
which I love.
Uh,
I haven't watched that in a long time. This is Spinal Tap, which
Nice.
is the perfection of improvised films right there. And then Wedding Crashers was one of them. You gotta add this to another pile because another movie in that pack is in that pile. Remember to do it. And then UHF with Weird Al.
nice.
I've watched this about 13 times in the last month because it's officially my 5-year-old's favorite movie now, because I got him into Weird Al
Really?
through the Fat and Eat It music videos. And I just watched it with him upstairs, and he was reenacting the entire film line for line with one of my old pairs of glasses with a Hawaiian shirt on. So he really likes Weird Al now.
That's amazing.
And it's adorable. So, but so yeah, I just watched that earlier today and yesterday. But yeah, I love this movie anyways. But yeah, Weird Al Yankovic is amazing. So yeah, I've been trying to watch as many comedies as possible. Those are the ones I had on physical ready to go, but I also watched like Office Space and what's one of the other ones I watched? I'm gonna forget now that I thought started doing that. But yeah, Office Space was one of them, and I need to watch The Gold Rush with Charlie Chaplin again.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Something Like It Hot, I want to rewatch,
So good.
and Doctor Strangelove. Those are the three I really want to rewatch by next Thursday in time for it, which I've seen them all at least once, but
Right.
in a while, and they're great, so I want to see them.
I've never seen UHF, and
it's
I've
hilarious.
never seen This Is Spinal Tap, which I know is like blasphemous.
Well,
But
one of my panelists who's on Bin Buster is on there doing it with me, and he'd never seen Spinal Tap until yesterday. He finally watched it, so
all right, I need
he
to
seemed to
see
like it pretty good. But yeah, This Is Spinal Tap is hilarious. Yeah, if you like, have you seen Best of Show
No,
or any of those? Oh, our Best in Show. Yeah,
I know the
any
film you're
Christopher
talking
Guest
about.
movie.
Okay,
Just go watch all of those. But Spinal Tap is basically like the spawn of those movies,
okay,
where it was so realistic to the point where people thought the band was real.
that's so funny.
And then it became real because of the movie, essentially. So yeah, it's really funny. You need to see that. And UHF's just a good dumb time. I actually did a video about UHF like last summer when I was doing my spoof movie summer series. I think I mentioned Spinal Tap in it too. But yeah, it's one of my favorites since I was a teenager. UHF,
Nice.
Weirdo.
I need to check that out.
It's fun. Yeah.
And what
Got
year
Michael
is
Richards in
UHF? What year
What year is it?
UHF?
89, I think. I have no eyes, so I have to like squint with one eye open. 89, yeah.
89.
So prime Weird Al time,
It is
essentially.
nice. Well, cool, man. What about 5 films you have your earliest memories from, or memories of?
I don't know if this is earliest, but these are ones I grew up watching constantly. Got my other little card here. I got to move it. Get too much stuff. I have like a whole desk, and I somehow run out of room instantly. I grew up in a very strict religious household where we were only allowed to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger action films. I did not see any Sylvester Stallone films whatsoever. So, a couple of Arnold films in this stack. Terminator 2.
I thought you were about to show me a bunch of religious films,
Oh,
and I was
no.
about to lose it laughing. I was really excited. I was like, no one has ever pulled those. And I'm looking
No,
forward.
that's not my bag, honestly. But yes, I saw Terminator 2 in the drive-in when I was 5 years old, and it was
Okay.
great. And then the only movie, and then I had already seen the Terminator by then, so I knew what was going on in the movie. And the movie I liked even more than this, at least at the time, that I used to watch constantly, taped off of HBO back in the days when cable meant something, is Total Recall.
Crazy.
was one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I grew up weird. So yeah, I was watching Total Recall and Terminator 2 when I was 5. And a similar movie to Total Recall, same director that I used to watch, also taped off HBO, is the original RoboCop.
Crazy.
I pulled my Criterion DVD
I was
because
gonna say, is that
I thought you'd like to see
Criterion?
that one over my Arrow ones.
That's wild.
Because it's cool. Yeah, number 23 if you're curious. But yeah, they don't.
23.
It's on Laserdisc too, so if you want that.
Wow.
But yeah, RoboCop I used to watch countless times. I keep wanting to like show my kid it, but I'm like, I know I watched this when he's 5, and I'm like, I watched that when I was that age, but I really probably shouldn't have been. So, and then one sort of normal kids movie I used to watch with my sister all the time.
Drop Dead Fred.
Drop Dead Fred, which was my first Vinegar Syndrome purchase. It was the one that finally got me into buying from them, and now I've bought way too much and haven't watched enough of it. But I got it right away, so I got the. It's out of print now. I think this one. I think
really?
it was like last Black Friday. It went out of print completely. Not even just the slipcover one. Then one of my favorite memories as a kid, a little bit older this time, but I was still probably only like 9 or 10 at the oldest, was watching all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies
At 9 or 10?
with my sister and my cousins at my grandparents' house. So my sister and I had seen the original, and then we rented New Nightmare when it was brand new. So that's 1994 is when this happened, essentially. We loved them. We watched them both, and we always did sleepovers at my grandparents' house with my 4 cousins from that side of the family. One of them was like 8 years younger than us, so she hid behind the TV during all the scary parts, which was essentially the whole time. So first we rented the original one and New Nightmare because it's the ones we had seen, and then every time after that we'd slept over at their house, we'd rent parts 2 and 3, and then we'd rent 4 and 5, and then we'd rent Freddy's Dead. Like we watched every time. It became like a routine. So that's how I originally saw the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, was from my grandparents renting them for us when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old in that time span.
That's amazing.
And it's my favorite. It's my favorite like slasher franchise, far and away, and it always has been. So it's the most consistently good, I would say.
Wow. I took my kid to see on a little date day today, and we went and saw the new Super Mario Brothers movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
beside me was 2 grandparents with their grandkids taking them to their very first movie ever. So I was super excited for these little kids, to have this experience with their grandparents.
That's adorable. Yeah, I actually saw that with my wife. Didn't get to go because she was sick the last week, so I ended up taking my kid by myself. And then my dad and stepmom were in California visiting my sister, and they took my nephews to go see it. And now we're all going to go see it on Tuesday.
Really?
Because my wife still hadn't seen it. But yeah, so he loved it. It was like his favorite thing ever. I was going to include that in my 5 most recent things, but I figured I'd just keep things that I had here handy. But since you mentioned it,
Nice.
Yeah, and then the fire alarm went off about halfway through the movie.
Oh gosh.
We all had to leave the theater for about 10 minutes. Nothing happened. And we all got to go back in. So I'm like, oh, we'll get a free potty break out of it. So I'm like, go to the bathroom. And then they went back and they rewound the movie about 15 minutes and we finished it.
Nice.
So it worked out. I was just like, really? Come on. It's like I worked at a movie theater for 7 years and I never had a fire alarm go off.
I think that's only happened to me once. And it was in Batman Begins. And it was literally when that the scarecrow has that like toxin or whatever that goes out.
Yeah.
And you started seeing things melt. The whole screen started doing it. I was like, that's wild. But the whole screen looked like it was melting, and then it shut off. And some like teenager with a flashlight came in. It's like everybody has to go home. So we all went home. And
that bad, huh?
Yeah, we got free tickets for the next time, but yeah,
Nice.
everybody had to go home.
Yeah, I felt so bad because he was so excited to see that movie, and I was like, "Oh God, we have to leave, and we don't get to even finish the movie." But
I'm glad you
apparently
guys got to finish.
it seems like he'd already seen the entire thing on YouTube because he's like, "Oh, I saw this part already. Oh, I saw this part already."
Oh, really?
Every single scene. I'm like, "Why am I here then?"
That's good.
I liked it. It was fun. It was a good time, and I'm excited to see it again because then my wife can go with and everything.
Nice.
Get my piles ready here.
Awesome. Well, question number 3: what 5 films have had the greatest impact on you? It can be emotionally, worldview, life perspective.
All right. This was the hard one. I'm sure it is for everybody.
It is for everybody.
The easy one is the first one. It's like, oh, I watched this week.
Yeah.
I took a different route with this because I'm weird. I don't get I mean, I get affected by movies, but not in the sense where I'm like, oh, it's life changing.
Sure.
So what I did is I basically chronologically with movies, am describing my entire relationship with my wife and my son
Oh, cool.
within 5 movies because I'm like, that's adorable and cheesy, and they're really good movies, so it works out all
Oh,
every
good.
direction. So my wife and I have been together since 2006. We were married in 2010. I hope I'm right, otherwise she'll be mad at me. And our very first date, it's really romantic. We went out to dinner like normal people, and then I took her to Best Buy, and I had to buy Taxi Driver because I needed to watch it for a class I was in for college, a screenwriting class. So number one would be Taxi Driver on that one,
Nice.
which is great, and I still need to watch this 4K. But uh, the class was I had to read the script and then go watch the movie. So it's like the Blue Tuber's dream date, going to Best Buy and buying a movie and then watching it. Oddly,
Absolutely.
but that is number one. The first movie my wife and I ever watched together. I'm like, we should watch
Nice.
Taxi Driver again. Like I always mention it, we just never get around to it. Number two, this is the movie where I. It's weird when you hear the movie after the story because it makes no sense. Um, the movie where during the middle of it, for whatever reason, I look over at her and realize I am in love with you. Has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever, but that's what I think of
Uh-huh.
when I think of this movie. And that movie is The Last King of Scotland with
Oh,
Forrest
wow.
Whitaker. He's really underrated and no one ever talks about it. He won Best Actor for this. It was great. It was our first Oscars thing because we're obsessed with that. So yeah, the movie I realized I was in love with my wife was halfway through The Last King of Scotland. I didn't say
Nice.
anything about it. I just knew. It was popped in my head. And then a little bit later, we were at her parents' house because she was a couple years younger than me. Watching Schindler's List. So that is number three, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, anyways. So it's worth mentioning. And right at the part where she knows I always cry during the movie, she finally tells me she loves me for the first time,
Oh, wow.
which is the part at the end. And she had to do it on purpose because there's no way it timed out that well.
Wow.
It was when he like is realizing to himself that he could have saved more people if
That's
he could have
brutal.
sold his button and his like pin and his ring and all that. It was like right in the middle of that part. I'm like, oh, this is the part that always makes you cry. And then she says it. I'm like, oh, come on. So now that's all I think of when I think of Schindler's List. And then, but like I said, they're great movies anyways. It's just a funny thing
Absolutely.
to attach them to. And this is possibly my favorite movie of all time. Once again, not for this reason, but it is our movie, my wife and my movie. Like how people have their song,
Yeah.
this is our movie, and it is No Country for Old Men,
Wow.
the Coen Brothers, which, like I said, is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Depending on the day, it's my favorite movie of all time. I mention it a lot. It pops up in a lot of my streams I do. The Coen Brothers are my favorite filmmakers. We literally named our son after them. That's
No
how much
way.
we like
That's
them
cool.
in this movie. So yeah, No Country for Old Men is amazing. That was it was our second Oscars technically, but I remember during the ceremony we had bought a pack of cupcakes, and on each cupcake we printed off a picture of the person we wanted to win each award. So there's a picture of Javier Bardem stuck in a cupcake, and a picture of Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood stuck in a cupcake, and then the Coen brothers, and so on and so on and so on. And by the end of the night, we ate all the cupcakes because we were right about every single one, and every one we wanted to win one. So it was
That's
like the best
awesome.
Oscars ever, and it's our favorite movie ever, as a couple at least. So that's number four. And number five is the first movie we brought my son to when he was 2 weeks old. He slept through the whole
2
thing. Who would have thought?
weeks.
Uh, he just sat in his little thing on the ground. We were the only ones in there, and he slept through the whole thing. And it is Three Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is
Big
another
film.
movie I love. It's very Coen Brothersy. Mark
Yeah.
McDonough movies are very Coen-y, so that's why I click with them, I think. But it's just a weird thing. Like, what's your kid's first movie? Oh, Three Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. So you already know his favorite movie at the moment, which is UHF. So this was his first movie, if you're
That's wild.
curious. So yeah, those five. It's a weird tracking of my relationship with my wife, which affected me in different ways after me already loving the movies in the first place. So I
Right.
thought that was an interesting way to answer that question.
Well, let me ask you this. You're a big Coen Brothers fan.
Yes.
So I would say over the last 2 years, I've gotten more and more into their films. I just recently watched last week for the first time, and maybe I need to watch it again because I watched it and I was like, okay. Maybe you can tell me why. Hey, you should rewatch it for this reason. Hail Caesar.
Oh yeah, Hail Caesar's. It's probably honestly out of all their movies that they directed together, it's probably my least favorite,
Okay.
or one of my couple least favorites.
Okay.
But I still like it. It gets better if you watch it again. Every one of their movies, I like more the second time I watch it.
Okay.
That's why I like them so much. With maybe the exception of No Country, which I fell in love with immediately. And I
Right.
saw that 3 times in theaters. Every single other one of their movies, I liked it more and more and more every time I saw it. So I definitely liked Hail Caesar more. I think I've watched it maybe 3 times.
Okay.
But it still is one of my least favorite of their movies. But it has really good like production value and cinematography and everything.
Incredible. Yeah.
But so it's worth a watch. But
All
yeah,
right.
it's not one that clicked with me that I'm like, oh, it's my favorite.
Well, I don't feel as bad about myself anymore because when you watch a movie that you're like, this is supposed to be great, and you get to the end of it and you're like, I didn't love it as much. You're like, it's got to be me. I'm the one who's wrong here. So that's how I felt at the end of it.
It's you'll find out. Yeah, literally, my first one in my next pile is something that's very comparable to that. What you just said. So
all right. Well, let's go to the next one then. What 5 films do you consider to be underrated films?
I was really hoping you were going to say this one when you said you just watched it because it's another Coen Brothers movie.
Okay.
The first 3 movies in this pile don't have Blu-rays or DVDs. 4Ks. I realized when I was grabbing them. So there's one thing they need to do. And I always talk about this movie, and it probably gets old to people. Even Coen Brothers fans don't like this movie.
Okay.
That is The Lady Killers with Tom Hanks. My wife and I both love this movie. It was it's the first movie they were credited together as directors ever.
Interesting.
And then No Country was the next one, and they finally won their Oscars as directors or whatever. But yeah, this movie is hysterically funny, and anyone who doesn't like it, I don't understand it. Like we did Coen Brothers movie trivia
Uh-huh.
like 4 years ago, maybe, which we won, by the way. Um, and every single Lady Killers question, everyone got wrong except me. They're like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Because I love that movie. It's hilarious. Like
That's
everyone needs to
funny.
go and watch this movie." I don't understand why people don't like it. It's just, it's one of those weird things. I got to another one. I saw this was probably the movie that got me into them first. Like I probably saw
Really?
maybe Fargo first, and then that when I first started getting into them, and then No Country, and then I went back and watched every single other movie they ever did. So yeah, that was like one of the first ones I fell in love with, and it was because of
Interesting.
Lady Killers. So go watch Lady Killers. It's hilarious.
See, I
If you
haven't
don't think it's
seen
funny,
that.
watch it again.
I haven't seen their version. I saw the original version of it, which I thought was great. I haven't seen that one though.
Yeah, I've heard that too. That a lot of people I know are like, I hate that movie, but I like the original. I'm like, it can't be that much different. It just I'm assuming it's the same story,
Right. I need to see that one.
but it's just very weird, quirky Coen Brothers humor shoved
Yeah.
into it. So I'll probably like. I haven't seen the original with Alec Guinness or whatever, right?
Yep. Yep.
I should get it at some point because it's always on sale and I never buy it. But
It is.
I was like, oh yeah, that one. I should. But I was like, I've already seen this 100 times. I don't really need to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's dumb and hilarious, and it's just I don't know. It's it's hard to like describe because it's so weird and stupid, but also clever and funny at the same time. And Tom Hanks, it's like the least Tom Hanks has ever been in anything he's been in.
Yes.
So it's just fun to watch for that reason. And Marlon Wayans is great in it.
That's
And the
funny.
old lady house they live in during the whole thing is just like amazing. So go see it. It's funny. Like go to Goodwill and find it on DVD because I guarantee you will.
Yes,
Because
you
it's not on
will.
Blu-ray, like I said. Number 2, another needs to be on Blu-ray. I am a diehard Chris Farley fan and have been since I discovered him the first time I watched SNL and Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
But the movie everyone always forgets exists that he's in is Almost Heroes.
Yep.
And I think this movie's hilarious. And I love Matthew Perry too. He's always been my favorite person from Friends, which I watch repeatedly. There's a Warner Archive DVD of this. This is the regular one, the original one. Other than that, it hasn't been re-released since then. But this is it's a Christopher Guest movie from This Is Spinal Tap. So it's similar awkward improv humor. It's more scripted, but it still has like Eugene Levy and all these other great improv comics in it. And they just make the movie. I find that's probably my second favorite Chris Farley movie after Tommy Boy,
That is
which is
good.
hard to beat. Tommy Boy.
Probably was impossible to beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I don't own.
Oh, really?
That's we'll get to. But
Yeah,
number
if-
3.
Did you read the Chris Farley show? His brothers wrote about him, the book.
No, I did not.
Dude, you should absolutely check that book out. It's unbelievable. I learned so much about Farley. I love him too. He's like Tommy Boy. It's either Tommy Boy or Dumb and Dumber. Those are 1, 2 all-time favorite
Mhm.
comedies for me.
Me too.
And Farley, man, I was reading that book and I was like laughing my head off. And there was times where I was like in tears. Like I had no idea how deep that guy was.
Yeah,
And yeah, amazing. If you're a Farley fan, man, you'll love the
I
book.
should. Yeah, I don't read much because I just don't. But I would read that, and I would probably like it because I love
That's
Chris Farley
good.
so much. But yeah, I miss him every day. Every time I miss, he's like funny. I'm like, oh, that would
He
be better
was
if
the
it was Chris
best.
Farley. So yeah, I was just thinking we were watching Animal House. That was the other one we watched for the comedy thing I'm doing. Was Animal House, and John Belushi's in that. And I was talking to my wife about how he and John Belushi were the same age when they died, and they died the same way. And it was like his idol was John Belushi. It's just ridiculous
Yeah.
coincidence. But yeah, sad stuff. But we'll get more into Tommy Boy when we get there.
All right.
In the other category, number three, underrated movies would be a Peter Jackson film of Lord of the Rings fame, which is what everyone knows him from. When everyone talks about his movies, it's either that or Dead Alive, which is amazing. But for some reason, I've always gone back to this more often, and that's his first movie, Bad Taste,
I've
which has
never
been
seen
getting
it.
4K rumors like crazy.
Okay.
This is the limited edition DVD, where it's the Anchor Bay one. So I don't know how easy it is to find this anymore, but it's a lenticular little alien flips you off when you bend it the right way. Uh, it's a really weird, stupid movie, but he did it all himself with his friends in his house, like his parents' house that he lived in. He made all the makeup and stuff all himself. He was like baking. He baked like the alien makeup. Like that's how he had to make the costumes and stuff. So his family could eat nothing but like boiled sausages for like months while he was making this movie with his friends. And it
Unbelievable.
started out as like a 15-minute short film, and then they just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it to the point where it was a feature-length film, and they had to record audio for it and everything because it was silent originally. But it's just a really fun, weird movie. It's about aliens that come to Earth to harvest people for their fast food chain, and it's just really weird and funny. And uh, Peter Jackson did everything for it essentially, and plays two different parts of the movie, one of which is named Derek. So I just found that funny. So I quote that
Interesting.
movie because of that reason. But it's a funny movie, and I've rewatched it more times than I probably needed to. So if you haven't seen Bad Taste, if you've seen Dead Alive and you like it, you'd probably like Bad Taste because it's similar, just like a
Okay.
much cheaper version of Peter Jackson. I wish he would go back to the super independent horror movies that he used to do when he was younger, as opposed to the $300 million blockbusters that
Yeah.
get worse and worse every time he does one. As much as I love the guy, this is a very this is nothing like anything else I've been talking about. One of my favorite movies ever that didn't start out that way. It's hard to say it's underrated because it was nominated for Best Picture and a handful of other things. But Moneyball
Ah,
with
it's so
Brad Pitt.
good.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. Like I rented it and watched it when it came out, and I was like, yeah, it was pretty good. Like I think I watched it by myself, and then like the next morning I rewatched it with my wife because we'd rented it, and I'm like, and it just kept gaining. Like it's one of those movies that sticks in your head and just gets better and better. And I've rewatched it so many times. I've listened to the movie, like I've had jobs where I could listen to music and stuff. I've listened to this movie like 6 times without watching it, and I just love. It's so well written and the dialogue's amazing. But it's just one of those weird movies that just sticks in my head and it gets better and better every year. And it's probably my favorite movie, at least from the year it came out, I would say. And my
Wow.
favorite Brad Pitt movie potentially. I think it came out in 2011, which wasn't the greatest year for the Oscars if you go back and look at it. But I'm like, Moneyball is amazing. Like that deserved a lot more credit than it gets. Like the people who like it, but then nobody else ever talks about it. It's kind of
It,
how it seems like.
it's one of those films where I'm constantly curating my collection. And if
Mhm.
there is something where I'm like, I'm never getting back to this movie, I pull it and trade it or whatever. And that's one that I've probably pulled out 4 or 5 times and was like, I don't know. And then I'll watch the trailer. I'm like, no, this movie's amazing. Why would I ever get rid of that? And then I put it back in the
it's
collection.
It's so good. Yeah, I've watched it several times, but it's just one of those movies that gets better and better every year. And the director's really good too. And he's only made what 3 movies, and they're all great.
It's so good, man. The whole thing. I love
And
it.
that's my favorite one out of all of them, easily. So
Yeah, that's great.
got the Aaron Sorkin script on there, like perfect style Aaron Sorkin. That and Social Network, like back to back, so good.
Yeah, and Jonah Hill was getting into his dramatic roles, and it's
Yep.
good. It's a good
Yeah, he got
film.
nominated for that too. Along it was like the what nomination of the year? Like Jonah Hill? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's really good in it. He's very normal and
exactly. It's
subtle and
good.
great. And then this was kind of a hard one too because I don't find too many movies underrated. Like Moneyball is saying, like it's hard to say it's underrated because it was nominated for so many awards and stuff, but it's hard to gauge what's
Right,
underrated and what's not. It's more just like things that you like that no one else seems to.
right.
And then this one is people like it, but I think it gets less credit than it deserves. So it's a John Carpenter movie. It's my favorite John Carpenter movie. It's probably my second favorite John Carpenter movie now. I've changed a lot in the past few years. After rewatching Halloween 740,000 times, it is no longer my favorite of his movies. That movie is The Thing, by the way. And it probably always will be. But Prince of Darkness is my
Okay.
next favorite John Carpenter movie, and it's one that people don't talk about nearly enough. It's very unique and original and creepy, and it's like a scientific look at religion, and it's just a really cool
Hmm.
concept. Have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's really cool. It's on as a 4K too. I have it on 4K in like a John Carpenter like Region B 4K set with like four of his other movies, so it was cheaper to buy than just the movies individually in America. So I kept this. Uh, but essentially, it's like these people find what is it's like this green sludge that is the devil. Essentially, it's like evil incarnate in this green sludge, and these scientists are trying to figure out what it is and like what all this stuff going on in this church is about. And it's like the devil trying to come back into our world from his world, and it's really weird, but it's just so interesting. So I give it a watch. It's hard to describe,
Okay,
but
cool.
it's very cool. It's not quite a zombie movie, but it has zombie elements to it. But it's people like possessed by the evil sludge.
Okay.
Sounds so dumb saying it's sludge, but that's just what it looks like in the movie. Cheapens it a bit, but it's a very interesting movie, and I've always really liked it. And it's cool, and the ending really sticks with you. It's one of my favorite ending shots in any movie I've ever seen.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I never hear anybody talk about that film.
yeah. Unless we're talking about John Carpenter movies, you don't really hear about
Right.
it.
Cool, man. Well, that's awesome. And the last question: what five films bring you the most joy, hope, laughter? They put a smile on your face.
All right. Well, number one, we'll just start with Tommy Boy. It's the one I
Hey.
don't own for some reason, but I had it on VHS, I had it on DVD, and I sold a lot of my DVDs years ago because reasons. And I just never bought the Blu-ray, and they keep rumoring the 4K that still hasn't come out. So I'm like, I'm just
Yeah.
waiting at this point. But yeah, I've watched. It's a movie I could watch anytime, and I always enjoy it. Long story short, but it's the movie
Yeah.
that made me fall in love with Jim Carrey, Chris Farley, and David Spade for that matter. Because I didn't really watch SNL then. I used to watch reruns of SNL on Comedy Central all the time,
Right.
but it was pretty much right after I had seen that movie that I started doing that. Because
Okay.
like I remember renting it with my mom and my sister, and we all loved it. And then we started watch. My sister and I would watch SNL reruns constantly from like the '90s and the '80s. So I was like, "Oh, this guy's amazing." So then every movie after that with Chris Farley, I saw in theaters and I loved. But that's still the best one. I mean, obviously can't do any more, but that is the
Right.
best one he would ever do, in pretty
Yeah.
much everyone's opinion. It's rare to find someone who doesn't think that's his best movie. It's definitely the most solid and arguably at least the funniest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just puts a grin on your face every time you watch it because it's nostalgic too at this point.
Absolutely. I hate it when people give Black Sheep a hard time. Like
Yeah,
it's not Tommy Boy, but it's still fantastic. Like Farley makes me laugh the whole time. Spade is classic Spade. So I
right.
do like Black Sheep also.
Yeah, that's probably I like it too. Yeah, that's another one I don't own. I think I own one Chris Farley movie in my collection, oddly enough, and it's
Oh, really?
Almost Heroes. Just sort of weird. Besides like Wayne's World and stuff, he's in for like 2 seconds.
Right.
But yeah, Black Sheep is great. It's not nearly as good. I never liked it as much as Tommy Boy. Beverly Hills Ninja is hilarious,
Yeah.
and Almost Heroes was the one he died. I think he died making it or right after making it, so he was dead by the time he came out. I remember.
Yes.
And then he was in Dirty Work, and that came out even later. So I just remember like, isn't he dead? I'm like, yeah, they film movies before they come out.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah.
were kids in my school didn't comprehend the thought of yes, they have to shoot the movie before it comes out in theaters. And I remember reading magazine articles about him making the movie like just before he passed away too. So it was like extra
Yeah.
sad in heaven.
And when
That
you
one hit
watch
me.
that one, Almost Heroes, you see him like he's struggling physically in that movie. Like you
Compared to everything
compare
else.
that, yeah, compared to everything else, he's physically struggling. Like the last time he hosted SNL was a train wreck, and he looked like he could go down at any minute, you know. And I'm pretty sure that's an episode that they don't show anymore. They don't
Oh,
do
really?
reruns of that episode because he does not look well,
I
and he
mean, he
struggled.
did a good job, all things considered. I loved that episode. I remember watching it when it was on. I taped it. I used to tape SNL live too
Yeah,
sometimes. So
he
that's
did
what I
like
taped
El
and rewatched.
Nino. I think El
Yep.
Nino is from that one.
I am El Nino.
That was
Then the Jim
good.
Carrey one were like the two best things ever.
Yeah.
I think that was the first episode I ever watched, which was with Jim Carrey hosting it. And I was like, this is great. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that was right before he passed away, too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
With
it was very
Fargo. It was
close.
like weeks before, if that. That was too bad.
Yeah.
Well, on a brighter note, since we're talking about Jim Carrey, I'll bring this case back and talk about Dumb and Dumber.
So good.
The other one you like.
Yeah.
Both Tommy Boy and Dumb and Dumber are in that comedy tournament I'm doing.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't. Dumb and Dumber is probably my favorite comedy of all time, like just straight comedy at least.
Yeah.
I saw that in theaters. I was in love with Jim Carrey from In Living Color. So it
Oh
was
yeah.
oddly enough, I didn't see Ace Ventura in theaters, which is weird. But I saw The Mask in theaters, and I saw Dumb and Dumber in theaters, and then everything else in the '90s that Jim Carrey had done, and I loved all of it back then. I still love him now, even though he's weird and doesn't do much anymore. But I, you know, holds a special place in my heart, just like Chris Farley does.
And it's
They
so
were like my idols as a kid. So
yeah. And that film, like Tommy Boy, you can quote those two films nonstop. There's so much quotability
absolutely,
wise. Yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah, both of them more often than most people. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. It's too bad though because the Blu-rays they have of it. It's only the extended version.
I hate that version.
I do too.
I hate it. I
Yeah,
kept my DVD and I refuse to own the Blu-ray until they re-release it.
yeah.
Hopefully it'll get like a 4K release or even just another Blu-ray release that's just the normal
That's had
cinematic.
both cuts on it or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because like the Something About Mary Blu-ray I have has an extended version that I also hate, which is weird because I like the movie so much. But it still at least has the regular version on it. But like, why do they just keep cut? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the extended version is I don't know something off. It's just off. Something
I
about
agree.
it, like it's just like it's too long, and the jokes don't hit the same,
Yep.
or they like go on too long to the point where they're no longer funny. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just a weird scenario where it's just like, no, you had it right the first time. Why'd you put this back in? So, and I usually like extended cuts better, at least in like 2000s comedies. They always seem to be a
Right.
little bit better in those scenarios. But yeah, those ones, it's just like it's longer for the sake of it being longer,
Yeah.
and that's never the right answer.
Absolutely.
All right. And then I have I'm going to be cheating on a couple of these because it's actually like series of movies, but Back to the Future
Yeah.
is always one of my all-time favorites. I grew up watching Back to the Future 2. I had it taped off of TV, so I'd watch that one constantly. And that was pretty much the only one I'd ever watch. And then I got really obsessed with Crispin Glover for some reason when I was like 15. And then I went back and rewatched the first one and fell in love with it all over again. And it became pretty much one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie at that time. And then, part 3 is great too. It gets more crap than it deserves. Back to the
Right.
Future 3. But I haven't even watched these 4Ks yet. I keep wanting to watch them with my kid. I'm like, hey, would you watch Back to the Future? And he's like, nah. We sneaked in Indiana Jones. We had like a mini Indiana Jones marathon last week
Okay.
because of the opening of UHF. He makes fun of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we're like, hey, this movie is like the beginning of UHF because you like it so much. And then he finally watched it with us. So we watched all three. Me and my wife essentially watched all 3 Indiana Jones movies in a row while he was, playing in the other room.
That's funny.
But it got him in the door. So we're trying to get him to watch Back to the Future now. This is the
Nice.
next one I want him to get obsessed with.
It's a must see.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's like you at least have to love the first one, even if you don't like the sequel so much. The first one's like one of my favorite comedy screenplays of all time,
Yep.
if not my favorite. And then number 4 is another Coen Brothers movie. Who'd have thought? And that is the other one that's probably my favorite movie of all time,
Cool.
Fargo. Yeah, this is the one. That's probably the first movie of theirs I saw. Yeah, it definitely was. I would say, at least knowingly. And even that movie, I didn't like Fargo that much the first time I saw it. I bought it on DVD because I was trying to collect the AFI Top 100 movies of all time list, which I have. That was like my first goal as a DVD collector. So I still have all those movies, but I've upgraded some of them as they go. But then, yeah, Fargo went from a movie that I'm like, yeah, that was okay, I guess, to like one of my favorite movies ever.
Nice.
And it's just one I can always think of. And being from Minnesota, it hits
Hey,
home literally, and it's just funnier to me. I even have my Fargo glass tonight that
nice.
I thought I would drink out of, um, because I like it so much. I
That's
grabbed that.
awesome.
But yeah, one of my favorite things ever, and just the fact that they're local boys made good.
That's pretty cool.
And then the last one would be the Evil Dead series. I just grabbed this. I didn't grab Army of Darkness too, but all of them. Um, it's another case like with Tommy Boy, where it's a movie we rented as a family. Evil Dead 2 first, because it's usually the one everyone watches first. It seems like. And I fell in love with it, and it was hilarious and ridiculous, and everyone loved it. My mom and my sister and stuff, and we quoted it all the time, even though I don't think my mom's seen it since I was 9 years old. But even she still references it to me
That's
to this day.
hilarious.
Like, oh yeah, the Work Shed movie. Like, yeah, Evil Dead 2. Whatever makes you remember. But yeah, so I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan. You can tell I got the
Yep.
elusive Bubba Hotep poster. I'm even wearing an Evil Dead shirt right now. I didn't even
Nice.
realize it. But and I even showed my kid Army of Darkness because it's not nearly as gruesome as the first two.
Okay.
And he enjoyed it a lot. We watched it last year. He thought it was fun. So he knows Ash. He has a stuffed Ash. It's actually right in front of me. I'll grab it. He has his own Ash action figure.
That's
He has his own
amazing.
little stuffed Ash that's in his/my collection. So
I've
yeah.
never seen any of those films.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
but I just watched today. I was on YouTube scrolling at lunch, and it was Impractical Jokers. Just did. I don't know if they just did, but there was a punishment with Bruce Campbell, and they had to reenact part of one of those films.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Q had to go through it, and then with the chainsaw in his hand, and yeah. So
That's
you would
funny.
appreciate it more than I would because I've never seen
Probably.
the films.
I'd be jealous. I'd want to do it.
Yeah. So he was
But,
there essentially directing it.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Should look that up. That's funny. Yeah, I love him. He's great. And then these movies made me, fall in love with Bruce Campbell in several ways. But
So in that set, how many films are there in that like series?
this is actually only 2 movies. This
Okay.
is a big box. It's Evil Dead 1 and 2 because of rights issues. So it's Evil Dead 1 and 2, and then the entire TV series, the Ash versus the Evil Dead series, which is 3 seasons, which I haven't even watched, sadly. But I love the movies. And it comes with like a book and stuff in there. It's a really cool set. It's actually not too expensive either anymore. And they're 4K Blu-ray combos. And then there's Army of Darkness. So those are the 3
Okay.
originals. So Army of Darkness is Evil Dead 3, essentially. They wanted to call it Medieval Dead because he goes back in time to the Middle Ages or whatever to fight evil and whatnot. But the original one, the second one was the first one I watched, and then I really liked the first one because we went back and rented the first one, and we're like, this is the same movie almost. Which, if you once you watch him, you'll understand what I mean.
Okay.
But I loved the first one a lot. It's really weird and cheap and gross because it's super low budget. But then I bought a book about the making of the movies called what is it called? It's like it looks like the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead on the cover. It's like the Evil Dead Companion. That's what it's called, I think.
Okay.
I can't remember because I don't own it anymore. But it's essentially the story of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell from like them knowing each other in either high school or college, and like every short film they made as students up to through Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3. So it talks about the making of all of them. And it was like the making of the original Evil Dead. It was like one of the things that got me into making movies myself more so than I already was, and made me get into like film school and stuff.
Wow.
So that's why it's like my number one thing. Like, this is the movie that made me go to film school, essentially.
That's
The
really
original
cool.
Evil Dead. So as weird as that is,
Yeah.
but when you look into how they made it, it was like a dozen guys, making this movie by the skin of their teeth in a freezing cold cabin for months with
Wow.
$12 to work with. So it's just the kind of guerrilla filmmaking they just can't do anymore, essentially.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
really
like one of the
cool.
things I love about it. And the second one is essentially a big budget quasi remake of the first one.
Oh,
So you don't
really?
even really need to see the first one. You could just start with number 2.
Okay.
But you'd lose about an hour of story and a few characters in there. But
Okay.
it's fun to watch them back to back because they're very different from one another.
Well, I know I mean, I've seen everybody talk about him forever. I've seen the shirts, I've seen the posters. I hear constant talk about Bruce Campbell, but I've just never seen him myself.
It's
I
funny,
need to
yeah.
see him.
Pretty much every movie in this pile I've seen, but with the exception of like the Coen Brothers movies or movies that I've been watching since I was like 5 to 9 years old. So it's weird.
That's
But
cool, man.
this is where my heart falls when I have to pick stuff.
What I find fascinating about, I mean, I've done probably 30-ish conversations, but they're always films that no one has mentioned. So like there's a bunch of these no one has mentioned before. No one's mentioned UHF. No one has mentioned Spinal Tap. Bad Taste. So it's pretty cool. Like it's so interesting to me. All of these different films that I mentioned, that kind of shaped how we appreciate and like films, shaped how we grew up. Like you're saying,
Right.
some of these films are like you're 5, so it's interesting, like how they shape our what we appreciate, what we like, and what we'll get into as adults, so that's always
How
fascinating
desensitized
to
we
me.
are.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me every time.
What
So
happens
this
when
is
you watch
cool.
Terminator when you're 5 years old? You're like, yeah, whatever. He can watch. Then you got a kid, and you're like, yeah, I can watch whatever as long as I know what it is.
Right, yeah.
My kid knows better than me. One of his other favorite movies that I didn't put in here that I could have, because it's the first movie my wife and I talked about on the phone before our first date, is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is my kid's other favorite movie that he's watched and can reenact essentially from memory, line by line.
Nice.
So those are like his two favorite things now: Weird Al and Killer Clowns, and the Mario Brothers movie.
Mario Brothers movie.
That's his whole world right now.
I felt bad. I fall asleep in probably 95% of movies I see in theater because it's quiet. No one's asking me questions. The lights are down. It's a comfortable chair that's
Yeah, you're
reclined
comfy and
back.
laying down. Yeah,
Yeah, I never get to just do that. So, yeah, today I missed a significant portion of that film, Super
that's
Mario
funny.
Brothers. Yeah, I
Yeah,
paid a
watch it on
lot of
YouTube
money
apparently. So,
for a nap. I paid a good amount of money for a nap today. So,
well, I get to see it again on Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, there's no fire alarm this time, and I get to watch it straight through.
I enjoyed Jack Black as Bowser. Like
Mhm.
I find him funny anyway, so that was really fun for me.
Yeah, he is the best casting in that movie by far, and
Yeah.
yeah, he loves that song that he sings in that movie, the Peaches song.
Peaches, yep.
So my son's playing it on the Alexa all the time because he can listen to it on there. And then Jack Black is in a Weird Al music video from like 8 years ago.
Oh, really?
We were watching it earlier today. I'm like, that's Bowser right there. He's like, I'm like, that's Jack Black. That's Bowser. Because he can tell the Alexa, play Peaches by Jack Black, and he knows what it is. I'm like, that's him right there. That's him. He's
That's
like,
what we
oh,
were singing as we left the movie theater parking lot. We were singing Peaches today.
yeah. It's such a dumb song, but it's hilarious.
And I was so glad they brought it back in the end credits. It was
Yeah.
so good.
It was a little mini
Yeah.
Bowser or whatever. Yeah, we've been playing a lot of Mario games together lately. Like I've played more classic Nintendo games in the last month and a half of my life than I ever did as a kid because I never owned a Nintendo.
Yeah.
I was a Genesis boy, so I never
Okay.
played Mario. I played Sonic, so I was playing Sonic on our Switch while my kid was doing something else.
Crazy.
But he and I have been playing. He likes to replay all the old levels. Like he's not great at it,
Uh-huh.
so he'll replay like the first two levels of the original Mario Brothers game like 100 times in a row and not get sick of it. I'm like, I don't know how you do that, but all right. I'm glad you're having fun.
Yeah, when the film started, I was explaining. I was like, all right, so Daddy used to play this game. That's who this person is. That's what's going on here. She's like, okay, dinosaur.
All the characters' names are different than they were when I played it because they
Yeah,
changed it like 20
that's
years later
true.
for whatever reason. Back
That's
when
true.
he was King Koopa in like the old Nintendo, and then they changed him to Bowser in what like the Nintendo 64 era.
I
I
think
think they
so.
finally changed his name and Peach and Princess Toadstool or whatever they called him. Like I didn't even like I would just known him as Bowser and Peach because I only ever really played Nintendo 64 and later. So I was like, oh, that's weird. Why are their names stupid? The old game. This doesn't make sense to me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, man, this is great. I appreciate you taking the time to do this and taking time to
No problem.
pull 25 titles out of your collection. So
Mhm. More than that if you count the box sets.
that's true. That's true.
This is my base under of everything else on top of it. I've pulled that more times than I can count for various live streams. So
Yeah.
I only had a chance to pull Drop Dead Fred for something at least.
I haven't seen that one either, so I wrote that down.
Oh, it's so funny. It's yeah. Either you'll love it or you'll absolutely hate it. It's one of those movies because like if you
Okay.
grew up on it, you probably love it. A lot of times, people who loved it as kids have been rewatching it since the Blu-ray came out, and they don't like it that much anymore. I
Oh,
still like it,
really?
and so when I watched with my kid, and he liked it enough, I was like, "Yeah, I watched this with your aunt, and we used to love this movie." And he's like, "Yeah, that's funny."
That's
Like, oh, okay,
hilarious.
not crazy, but yeah, it's a goofy movie.
Nice. I do need to check it out.
Yeah.
So, Derek, anything coming up on the channel that you want to make folks aware of? Anything
Um,
you're looking forward to?
well, outside of my comedy movie live stream, which will be
Yeah.
going on April 20th
Okay.
at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we're yes, 32 movies. It's usually more because I'll do like a best picture decade and there'll be like 50 movies nominated. I intentionally made this one smaller so we have more time to argue with each other about the movies. And just so it's in like an actual bracket size where it's not awkward or odd numbered. So I'll be doing that on Thursday with Bob's Blu-rays, Tim from Tim Talks Talkies, Ben Buster, and Cody, dude who loves movies. It was his idea, so I'm having him on the stream. It was his
Nice.
recommendation to me. Other than that, I got my Kino Lorber order in today and
Nice.
something else. So I'll be doing an unboxing video soon for those various things and showing off what I bought lately, which isn't much, but it's stuff. And I have a video series planned that I haven't started yet because I've been so lazy lately. But the gist of it is going to be, I haven't mentioned it to anybody. It is, uh, why can't I think of the name of it now? I'm brain farting. Verses from the bad movie Bible, essentially, is what it is. So it's me watching and talking about famously terrible movies and just enjoying it because I love bad movies. I have like either watch the worst things you'll ever see in your life or I watch Oscar winning classics. That's like my two,
Okay.
nothing in between. It's either hot garbage or classic cinema. Apparently, I don't watch anything else. But that's what
Crazy.
it's going to be. Books from the Bad Movie Bible. There we go. That was what it was
Books
going to be
from
called.
Heaven Bible.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what I'm going to start with. Maybe Troll 2. Because I have it on the ready and it's one that everyone likes. So,
Okay. Nice. Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. And friends, if you're watching, make sure you subscribe. He just crossed 600, so we're pushing to 700 now.
yeah,
And
give me 605. I'll be happy.
and this live stream coming up on, you said the 20th.
Yes, April 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So 8 o'clock Central. I'm Central time. So
very cool. Yeah, this should be out before that. That's my plan.
Cool. Okay. That's what I was worried. I'm like, should I even talk about this?
Yeah. That's my plan, is to get this done. So I whenever I record these, I do editing. I can't sleep. I don't sleep very well. So I edit at nighttime and just sit there with my phone and edit all this stuff. So it should be out before the 20th for sure.
Cool. That helps.
Yeah, cool.
Well, thanks for taking your time out to even bother asking me to do it. So I was
like I said,
one-on-ones.
Yeah, I've seen your videos. I see you on Instagram all the time. And it was one of those things was like, oh, it'd be cool to get to know Derek a little bit and just to hear what his picks would be and learn about him. So
you're weird. That's for sure.
Well, it's good. Well, man, thank you again. And friends, subscribe, check out 20th, the stream, and follow on Instagram as well. So yes. Convicted Cinephile. You can find them there.
I'm also on TikTok, but I don't do much on there.
TikTok,
but
okay.
Same name and all that.
Same name. Nice. Cool, man. Well, thank you again. And I hope you have a good night. And you said it was earlier, you said it's snowing there. So
yeah, it's been snowing literally nonstop all day. It's really fun.
Hopefully you'll get back to the 80s very soon.
Yeah. 50s all week, and then probably the 80s the next week. Then it'll be summer.
I would be cool. 50s I'd be happy with. I'd be cool with 50s all the time.
Yeah. It could be like ideal weather to me is like sunny and 65, and I can wear my shorts all day and not get sweaty. So
perfect weather.
I'm an old man. I overheat easily.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, enjoy your night, and I'll talk to you later.
You too. Thank you.
All right, take care.